Okay folks, so next up is the Lyman electronic digital trigger pull scale, and how does it compare to my old standby, my RCBS trigger pull scale? Okay, so I thought we'd take a look at what's inside the welded clamshell, which by the way was kind of a chore to get open. There is the insert, nothing really new or exciting there. It's not even instructions, it's more like an advertisement. But inside, you have this really nice case. It's actually pretty beefy. It's got padding in there to hold the unit. It's got these two clips on the side to keep it locked in place. But the unit itself is ready to go. It did come with batteries, which I thought was a really nice touch. That's something they didn't have to do, but that's pretty nice. And then underneath this foam is the instructions. It's really only 2 pages. It's a pretty simple machine, frankly. Let's run through the features and what all the buttons do. So one of the really nice things is it's compact, right? So it is a collapsible rod, which is really nice, right? And it has this little clip that secures it to keep it from floating around. So one of the things that I don't like about this is this guy is always this long, right? There's no changing that. You can't collapse that, whatever. So it's a little cumbersome to keep in a range bag or whatever, but I mean, I never really take it to the range. I just kind of have it and use it here at the shop. So this is kind of, but it is kind of large, right? It's nice that this guy is collapsible, and as you can see, that's what you're looking at right there. So it's about half the size of the analog version. And it's nice that it has a protective case because this is electronic and this obviously is not. So first thing first is you have to pull this out, right? And it locks in place right there. You heard that lock. Now what's cool is that you can, when it's not locked, you can put it in different positions, right? You can put it like that if you wanted to, if you're lefty. So actually I find this kind of nice. Now this one will do the same thing, but it's free floated, right? Which kind of is a pain in the butt when you're trying to pull triggers, because it'll want to slip and slide around sometimes. But this one's nice because you can always orient the screen to your position so you can always read it. So after you lock it in place, all you do is you hit the clear button to make sure there are no readings in the memory, and then you hit the ready button. And once you hear that audible beep, you're ready to go. So here I have my EAA Witness 1911P. There is no mag in this gun, and there is no round in that chamber. So that's a clear weapon. This obviously has a grip safety, so you kind of have to hold that back. And see where I set it down, it actually gave me a 0.8 of an ounce, so that's where you'd hit clear, and then you hit ready. You hear the beep, so you're good to go. You place it on the trigger. 3 pounds, 6.3 ounces. So that is fairly decent. So if we cock this gun again, let's see what the analog version gives me. So it gave me 5. And that's one of the problems, one of the only drawbacks that I'm going to give this guy. If you pull too fast on this guy, it will give you a false reading. So I think the key to this guy is really being consistent on where you place this on the trigger and how you pull through. So if you pull too fast, right, it'll give you a false reading of 1 pound, 7.7 ounces, right? It'll just give you, we know that's not correct. So if we reset here and we do it consistently. So I'm placing it in the middle of the trigger and I'm using direct, gentle pressure, pulling all the way back. It gives me 4 pounds, 9.4 ounces. So much more consistent along with this guy, right? Because this guy consistently read 5 pounds. So again, if we reset and we're very dedicated on where we put this and how we pull straight back, 4 pounds, 6.1 ounces. So again, this guy is not as forgiving as this guy. So you have to be very careful about where you place the trigger pad and how you pull back. If you pull up high or you pull down low or you pull too quickly, you'll get a false reading. You will get a more accurate reading, a more sensitive reading than this guy, but this guy's a lot more user-friendly. Okay, let's finish up with pros and cons. And the biggest pro has to be that this guy is super sensitive, right? This Lyman digital trigger pull scale is super duper duper sensitive. That's also its biggest con, is that it's so sensitive that the way that you engage the trigger and whether you pull straight back or not or too fast will all affect your reading. You don't really get that with the analog versions of trigger pull scales, so that's kind of its biggest con as well as its biggest pro. If you're looking for averages and whether or not you've been successful in your trigger job or whether or not your gun is wearing in correctly, trigger pull scales are very, very important. It does run you around $50 depending on where you buy it from, which is about double what the analog version is. So it kind of just depends on what you want to spend and how sensitive you want to be with your readings. And then of course the only other thing that I'll say is of course the Lyman is made in China, and it does seem like this would be something that could be made in the States, right? It just seems like one of those items that could easily be manufactured here. But anyway, I would say that this is worth the money, particularly if you're going to be tinkering around on guns, if you're going to be exchanging triggers, polishing triggers, breaking triggers in for competition, for hunting, for whatever, then really the only way you know if you're doing it the right way and if you're progressing is with a trigger pull scale. So you definitely need one. And that's all I have for this episode. So if you like these type of videos, pretty please do me a huge favor and like, share, and comment below. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And as always, be safe and be good.